Welcome to me and my McLane doing a live stream today. I was able to manage to get all this technical stuff working, I think, a little bit better this time. Last week I did my first live stream, and I had some issues. I don't really understand all this technology that we have nowadays. Amazingly enough, back in 2000, I was doing a lot of video editing and stuff like that for a off-road club that I used to kind of be involved with. And I did a lot of editing, and I used to post videos online for everybody. Now, I don't know if you know about 2000, back then posting video online and, doing all that sort of stuff was not that easy. And I was really into that. I was really good at it. And I just felt like I was kind of, one of the, I wouldn't say pioneers, but, one of the first people to be able to do that. Now, with all this new technology and stuff, I'm so far behind the times. I really am not into computers like I used to be. So getting a lot of this stuff set up has been a challenge for me. I think have everything set and going really good. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the live stream. And before we get started, I just want to let everybody know, I'm doing the live stream because, I did my first one last week, and I actually did a second one on my other YouTube channel where I just kind of do some odds and ends type of things. And I did coffee roasting, and I actually had so much fun doing this one that I went out and I did a live broadcast of coffee roasting. And I'm sure that was like watching grass grow, which that, whatever. But I did do that, and I had a few issues over there too. But hey, I had a really good time. I wanted to do a third one, but whatever. I think I'm just kind of being stupid, and I don't know. But I really had a good time doing the live one. And it's not like I'm expecting more than one other person to be watching. It's just really a way for me to record some content. I have some videos put together, talk about them, and then I could just chop it up and do some shorts, do some videos on some information. Because I'm going to go over quite a bit of stuff today. I'm going to try to keep it down as much as possible. But Sunday morning, 6 a.m. I don't know about you guys, but I get up really early in the morning every day. It doesn't matter whether I'm going to work or I'm not. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, holiday. If I'm up till midnight, if I'm go to bed at 9, whatever. 4 a.m. is my wake up time. So I've had plenty of time to work on this. I got this all together last night. And 6 a.m. on Sunday just seemed like a really good time to do it. I didn't think there would be a whole bunch of people that would actually tune in and watch it, which I'm sure there might be 2 or 3. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and do this on Sundays and just chop everything up a little bit and do some videos. So I have my standard opening here just for me to kind of open things up and talk about what's going on or whatever I have on my mind at the time. Just to get things started, maybe get a few people in here to start watching, all that kind of stuff. I was trying to figure out a way to do some live chat. There's a chat screen that you can do on this. I was unsuccessful in getting that going. I worked on it. I did the best I could, and it was just kind of a big fail. So I have a screen open. I am able to see chat. So my kind of thing with the chat is that with it being live, we can interact. If somebody had a question or just wanted to start a discussion about something, maybe a topic to talk about or something like that, I'm no expert. I'm a whole DIYer guy. I learn everything on the fly a lot of times. And, I mentioned before the whole reason why I even started this YouTube channel, just to kind of be brief on it. But you know what? There is so many bad lawn channels out there. We're going to go over it because I did something really crazy. I was listening to a podcast, and this guy, he's all, he was doing an AI, discussion thing. And he was asking AI, I think it was Chat GTP, whatever, he asked, some really crazy questions like, what are the worst lawn care channels out there that provide, the biggest misinformation and stuff like that. I think you'll be amazed at who came up on it. The AI doesn't really want to answer the question, and I was able to get Gemini to answer the question almost identically to what he got, but I never got Chat GTP to do that because Chat GTP, I don't know, maybe it stopped you know, doing whatever, but you know, they just bring up information that's on the web. And so there's a couple of really big YouTubers out there that are putting out a lot of bad information, and it's known that the information that they're putting out is pretty bad. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later. We'll just go ahead and get into my first video. So this is my son Justin's house. You know, we had a big day yesterday. Well, Tuesday was actually the big day. We celebrated yesterday, but our first grandbaby was born a year ago. So we had a big birthday party for him and everything yesterday, and it was a good time. Kind of, you know, kept me away from getting some projects done, but you know, it's fine. So we did renovation in his backyard. You know, he called me on Thursday and was talking about it, and I said, hey, let's just go ahead and do it. I'll help you out. I have grass seed. We'll just go ahead and get her done. And so we just kind of did this on the fly. We did not do a kill out. We did not do anything. What you see is what we did. We basically just cleaned up his backyard, got all the tree trash out of his yard, raked it up, got rid of it, scalped it, mowed it really, really short. My Honda lawnmower there, it actually goes down to 3/4 of an inch. And, you know, it was kissing ground in a couple of areas. Now, he's got a lot of rocks. His soil was a little bit hard. So what I did is, well, first what we did put a sprinkler system in. And that was kind of one of the first things that got this topic going between me and him. Was he was talking about this kit that he bought. So right here, you know, we're digging trenches. So we started this on a Saturday a few weeks ago, and we really didn't have much time. He had something he needed to do later in the afternoon, and I got over there at about 11, I think. And at 2, we pretty much had completed putting in the sprinklers. We dug the trenches. He has a lot of trees in his backyard, so there were some big roots that we had to work around. So what we did was we kind of dug under the roots. We didn't take the big roots out. We tried to save as many roots as possible for the trees, and we just dug under the roots so we could just shoot the tube underneath. And he bought a kit sprinkler system. So this is not PVC. This is like a, I guess you would say a PEX kind of a setup. It's a Home Depot kit. It comes with, you know, sprinkler heads, the tubing, a bunch of fittings. And, you know, when you map your plan out, you know, you just need to decide exactly what kind of fittings you need and how many you need to finish the project, because I'm sure the kit's not going to have everything you need. He bought a couple extra T's and some couplers and some things like that, so we can get it hooked up. Video's a little jumpy when I take it with my camera because I was not using one of those gimbal things. I did have a friend give me one, and I finally figured out how to use it, so I'm starting to use that a little bit more because it does take some really good, stable video. So this is just kind of me walking around with the camera, and these are our trenches, all nice and done here. Like I said, we got them dug up, and I mean, it really didn't take us more than maybe hour and a half maybe to dig all these trenches. You know, the best time to dig trenches if you're doing it with shovel is when it's wet, you know, it's spring. So here he is. This is the tube that he had got with the kit. Like I said, I think it's like a PEX type of a tubing. And, you know, we're just cutting it with regular PVC cutters, and fittings just push together, you know, and they're those nice, easy slip. There's no glue, no anything that you need to put in it. So we had already mapped out where we needed to put the sprinklers. I believe with the kit and the setup you do on it, it comes with a like grid chart, so you can make a grid and you can see how far the sprinklers are going to cover, where you want to put them, you know, that sort of thing, how much coverage you're going to get, and that sort of thing. So we decided on 2 runs, but we actually did 1 because he kind of felt that we could probably get it all done in 1 run. And that was, you're going to see, that was a mistake. We kind of went through all this, we tested it and we ran it, and it started working. Before we hooked the sprinklers up, the sprinkler heads up just a little bit back, we did purge the tubing to make sure all the dirt was out of it before you put any sprinkler heads on it. That's probably the one biggest and most important thing to do when you actually do a sprinkler system. You get your pipe put in, everything all set up, glued, whatever. If you're doing PVC, make sure all your fittings are good. Flush it with water, just in case there's any sand or dirt particles in there, because you want to get all that stuff out. So this is going to kind of flood the tunnels, the trenches a little bit, but you just run it for just 30 seconds, whatever, just enough to get the water to run out of it. And then you hook sprinkler heads up, and then you can start making sure your sprinkler head, your pressure's working, and all that kind of stuff. Down here on this, he's putting in it's a drain for the system. I don't believe drain was the name that they used for it, but it basically is just an area where maybe it's an anti-siphon. But we ended up digging this part down a little bit more and putting some drain rock in it, because basically what it's going to do is it's going to drain out the water out of the pipe. Here we go. This is us doing the flushing of the system right here, making sure all the ends are getting water coming through them and none of the fittings are leaking. I mean, there's no real pressure on it, so it's hard to really test the fittings to make sure they're working. So here we now have sprinklers kind of going. They're not adjusted or anything, they're just on, and we're seeing how they're doing. You can see here, the trench is flooded from the flush. But we're just kind of making sure that the sprinklers are working. Looks like it's going to work and all that kind of stuff. So at this point, we pretty much ended there that day with that. We got all that done in about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. This is the next morning. Came back over. We started early, about 8 o'clock, and we just went to town on getting the front and the backyard done. Ended up spending till about 3 o'clock that afternoon getting both his backyard and front yard done. He actually did run a trench from the backyard to the front yard so he could run sprinkler heads in the front yard. His front yard is really, really small. It's nothing at all. He did probably 3 times the amount of trenching to get a pipe back there than the amount of trench he had to put in the front yard. He's got, like, I believe 3 sprinkler heads. It's very small. So we buried all the trenches, got them down, tried to compact them as good as possible. And then I got my Sunjoe dethatcher out. And I want to tell you right now, this Sunjoe, I said it before, I'll say it again. I have abused this thing to no end. And, it has a dethatcher blade and a scarifying blade, and I'm using the scarifying blade, the Verticut, or whatever you want to cut it. It's just a bunch of blades, vertical, and there's like six or so across on it. This is only about 20 inches wide. It's battery operated, but he has a lot of rocks in his soil, and man, this thing was kicking up rocks, chewing it up. And the reason why I'm using the scarifying blade, and I'm using it at a really low setting, was because I'm going to pause this real quick. His soil was a little compacted, a little hard. It wasn't terribly hard, but the top was, because he has a dog and all that stuff, and he had done his yard before and just kind of let it go, didn't water it, didn't do anything. The dog would go out there and dig, and I'm sure the dog's going to go back out there and dig. You probably have seen the dog running around here. Very active, a lot of energy dog that they have there, Luna. And so scarifying it, what it did was it kind of was like a little mini rototiller action that we did on the yard. It'll churn up the dirt, the top layer, enough to kind of loosen that up, because what you see here is we're actually adding topsoil, and we're adding topsoil to help with the looseness and thickness of the dirt level where we're going to put the seed, to give it really good seed to soil connection, contact. And so we're just using topsoil and I think it was topsoil, organic compost, and lawn soil. I don't know, we had like 20 bags of each. It was on sale at Home Depot when we got them and stuff like that. You know, it was about $120, something like that. I can't remember exactly. And we basically spread it out. Now, I started trying to spread this out with my compost, my peat moss spreader, but it's so wet and it's so thick and so chunky that did not work very well. So we ended up just spreading the bags out and raking it out. And you're going to see in here, we used rake, we used my level rake, and then we also used my drag. And my drag's going to be coming up here in a second after we, do this. But, this is just made, preparation for a really good seed bed. And that's really what you want to concentrate on when you are, there's my drag right there. So you see, it's just 2 4x4s. It's got the rope so you can drag it. And like I said, I've used this method since I was a kid. My dad taught me how to do it. He probably read somewhere about doing this. And you basically are just dragging it back and forth. And you're not doing it so much to get the soil perfectly level and all that kind of stuff. What you're doing is you're doing it so you get an 8-foot span area that you're dragging across, and you can actually see underneath the board the low and the high spots as you're dragging it. And if you drag it a couple of times, you're kind of able to, level out, a lot of that soil that's underneath. But if you have some low spots, you can come in, you can fill it in, you can rake some over, take down some high spots and all that kind of stuff. So I want to just kind of jump back a little bit here. I'm trying to keep up with the video. When I edit these videos, I just edit them, trying to make them, as time efficient as possible. But going back to the preparation site, I said that we didn't do anything to prep this soil. Now, if your yard is really bad, got a lot of weeds and all that kind of stuff, your best method to starting this project, to getting to this point right here where you're ready to plant seed, you're going to do all the processes we did. But before you even start, you're going to want to kill everything off. And you're going to want to use some glyphosate. I have some glyphosate down here. I get this is 100% glyphosate. I get this at the farm supply store. This is called Intimidator Plus herbicide. It's a non-selective, so that means it kills everything. It's 41% glyphosate. And it's 2.5 gallons because I use this all around my yard and stuff like this. This is what I use in my beds to kill weeds and stuff like that. We're going to talk about some weed killer products a little bit later in the video, because that's one of the things with all the projects I've been doing that have really gotten neglected. So if you got a really bad yard, it's really overgrown, got lots of weeds, crabgrass, all kinds of stuff, your best thing to do a nice, easy reno on it is just to kill it all off. About a month beforehand, spray a really strong solution of glyphosate, put it in a pump sprayer, whatever you have, make it a little stronger than the norm. With this product that I have, the instructions actually come so you can mix it to a specific, what's the word I'm looking for? You can make it as strong as you need to. It gives you percentages. If you add 6 ounces per gallon, then you're going to get this percentage. If you add 8 ounces, you're going to get this. And it just kind of gives you, so the first application I would do really strong, whatever the strongest one is. I think it's like 6.5 ounces per gallon is, I believe, what I use as a strong mix. Maybe it's 8. But the thing is, you're killing everything off, so it's something that you can put down and as a first application and kill everything. You're probably going to have to go back a couple weeks later and spray it again, because some things aren't going to necessarily get killed out. If you have grass in there and it's a really good, strong growing grass, it may need a second hit. So you want to prepare to have enough time before you want to start your project to get your glyphosate down, to get everything killed off. because basically there's a couple of things you can do once you kill everything off. You could do what I did a couple of years ago, rent a sod cutter. If it's all grass that you're cutting out, cut out the grass with the sod cutter, and then come in with a rototiller and rototill the dirt up. Now, I've recommended this to you for you to do if you have really compacted clay soil, because if you have clay soil, it's just going to compact again. And everybody tells you to aerate and all that kind of stuff, and you can do an aeration on it if you want to do a little less work. It will work. You'll be able to get some topsoil down in it, but you basically want to come in after you remove the sod or aerate and put a good layer of topsoil down. Now, I put a really good layer down on my yard because I wanted all good soil on the top. So I've put down over 20 yards of topsoil over the last 2 renovations I've done on my yard. And my yard is pretty soft. I don't really have clay, but I did have some areas that were really hard. So if you're dealing with a really hard soil, man, I would really suggest you do a full removal of your grass and a rototill, a shaker like I've shown previously with a concrete motor on it to shake out all the grass clumps, the root clumps. Get your soil really prepared. That's the most important thing you can do if you want to start and have a really nice lawn. If you just want a regular lawn that you don't care about, like my son, he didn't care. He says, Dad, I don't care what kind of grass. I don't care anything. I don't want to kill the stuff. I just want to get this project done, get some grass growing, have something out there for Luna to lay in, on a Saturday or on the weekdays, whatever, that kind of thing. I don't really care how it looks. It's all fine. So we just did this really quick. It's still growing, it's still cooking, because he's got a lot of shade back here, and we'll get to where I am right now on the spraying. I'm spraying Tenacity right now. Tenacity is one of the only things you can spray as a pre and post emergent, and I'll have some video of how that works in this to show you how well the Tenacity does as a post emergent. One thing about Tenacity is it's fine fescue doesn't really like Tenacity. Now, this is fine fescue that I put down. This is a shade mix, my shade mix that I use, and it's actually red creeping fescue, and it is a fine fescue, and fine fescues are a little bit more they're not as tolerant to the Tenacity. And on the seeding side, it's not going to stop your grass from growing or sprouting, but what it's going to do is it's probably going to slow it down a little bit. It is taking a little while. With all the shade that he gets in his backyard, you can see it's totally shaded out there. And it's probably 11-ish by now. He gets very little sun back here. So it's going to kind of slow down the germination rate on your seed. But it does a great job for keeping weeds out. Now, if you're doing Kentucky bluegrass, you're doing tall fescue, turf type tall fescue, all those kinds of things, it works really well. With the warm season grasses, I'm not really familiar with warm season. I'm going to talk about something that I have going on here later in this video. But, on cool season, that's where I really understand, things. So Tenacity will work well with all grasses, but the fine fescue is sensitive to the Tenacity. So once I sprayed the Tenacity down, I came with my drop spreader, and I use a drop spreader to drop seed. That's all I use. I don't do a broadcast spreader. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. I have a Scott's drop spreader, and I really hate it. I really don't like any Scott's products. I don't use any Scott's fertilizers, anything like that. I've said that before. Every time Scott's comes up, I will say that. I don't like Scott's as a company. There's a couple of reasons why. But that drop spreader really sucks. But I use it and I get it to work for me. So this is his front yard right here that we're working on getting done. We basically came through it really quick. We just really mowed it. I didn't even really do the dethatching on this, the scarifying. I just kind of came out there and I just, laid the topsoil. It was pretty soft. I mowed it down, laid the seed. He had already had all the sprinklers in and stuff like that. And this is actually Kentucky bluegrass. And you want to talk about a slow growing grass? Kentucky bluegrass takes a long time to germinate. If you're impatient, don't grow Kentucky bluegrass. But if you want a really good grass, Kentucky bluegrass is great grass. It's what I have in my front yard. So I did the peat moss, I did everything, got it all dialed in, I got his sprinklers going and stuff like that. He actually had to leave at like 2, so I finished this last part off by myself. I just wanted to get it done. Here's a little example. I think this was like 2 weeks after. This is the Kentucky bluegrass in the front. Now, because we didn't kill off his old grass is really gonna come through. But you see right here, these white spots, that's actually the tenacity bleaching working. And you see, it's all up here too. I don't know what these kind of weeds are called, but they're annoying and they're in a lot of grasses. But so that's the tenacity actually working on these weeds, killing them. And that's how tenacity works. It bleaches them. It I believe, starves them of chlorophyll. And they basically bleach out and die. This is his backyard. This is the red creeping fescue. And like I said, this is just a couple of weeks. I don't even think it's 2 weeks after. I guess it probably is because it's the weekend. So it's probably 2 weeks after he planted. And, it's going through really nice. It started sprouting really good. So this is just kind of an example of how the tenacity worked on the fine fescue as far as, actually, I think this is 3 weeks. This might be 21 days. Because I know the Kentucky bluegrass, it takes forever to germinate. So just got a lot of germination going on through here, and it's a nice slow process. We didn't put any fertilizer down. You've heard me talk about it before. I'm not a big fertilizer guy. I don't like putting a lot of phosphorus down. I don't like putting a lot of potassium down. Here again, here's some more, this is tenacity bleaching right here, killing off the weeds. And the tenacity is also going to prevent weeds. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Sorry not to slurp and gulp in your, speakers there. But so this is some drone video I did the next weekend. Still really slow growing. It doesn't really take off that quick. Like I said, this doesn't get a lot of light back here. So actually, I think this was the same day, to tell you the truth. I did pictures and everything. So this was the next weekend. I think this was the weekend after. Finally, talked him into mowing and doing that sort of thing. He had only mowed the front. He hadn't mowed the back. This is where, when you give advice, you could lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. I was telling him that, he really needed to, concentrate on mowing once the grass started growing. This was, I believe this is yesterday. This is the backyard. I got him to mow. I had one over there earlier and he hadn't mowed yet. And I told him he really needs to mow. Because what's happening is the old grass is growing so tall, it's preventing the new grass from getting sunlight and growing. So this is the front yard with the Kentucky bluegrass. It's doing pretty good. So it's going to take, probably another 2 weeks, but, I told him he really needs to concentrate on mowing, because the biggest thing about getting your grass to grow is mowing. Mowing is going to encourage growth. And I can't stress that to you more. Once the grass has grown tall enough to where you can start mowing it, because that is going to encourage root growth, root development. It's going to encourage the grass to grow more, because it's going to want to, extend that growth, the length and all that of what you cut off. So that's the project that I did at my son's house, doing his yard. Next, so I did a little walk on my yard, just to kind of give you guys a glimpse of what I'm dealing with. I've spent the last good 10 weekends doing projects, and I've neglected a lot of my yard. Like, this is my side yard grass patch. that I'm really going to concentrate on getting going to make some good sod for some areas that I'm having a really hard time getting to sprout, and I'm really kind of frustrated as to why I can't get grass to grow in certain areas of my backyard. And I know a lot of it has to do with shade and that sort of thing, but I've decided I have one patch that if it doesn't grow with the reseed I just did, I'm going to use this sod, and I'm just going to put this in there. It's a little small area. Most of the other areas are doing really well. So this is the sod that I cut from my retaining wall project right here, and I'm actually working on that. I'll show you my progress and what I'm doing now. But then the dirt back here, this is what I have left of the 5 yards of dirt that I had delivered. And then I have decided I'm going to start making my own soil because of the way this topsoil came in. So yesterday I went and bought like 25 bags, I believe it was. I bought lawn soil, topsoil, and organic compost, not organic, maybe it was organic, compost and sand. And I dumped it all out in the pile here, and I got my Ryobi expanded, and I put the rototiller blade on it, and I ground it all up because this is really wet out of the bag. Because what I want to do is I want to run this through my sifter and make it a really good soil, so when I verticut my front yard, my Kentucky bluegrass, I can roll this down with my peat moss spreader and get that to spread across and use my lawn leveler to kind of, rake it in. So this I am only using on my Kentucky bluegrass. I have the sand to use on my putting green, and these are projects I'm trying to get done this weekend because I really need to finish these projects because the rest of my yard is starting to suffer, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video right here, to show you what's going on in the rest of my yard. So hopefully by the end of the day today or tomorrow, all this dirt will be gone, and I will get my scarifying done. And I'm going to be using my aerator blade. It's scarifying blade, aerator blade, all those sorts of things. It basically is, whatever you want to call it, it's just a bunch of blades, and I'm going to use it to basically cut through the grass. I'm going to dethatch first, use my dethatching blade and dethatch, because you're going to see in some of the pictures I have, I haven't dethatched in, it's probably almost been a year. I think the last time I dethatched was June of last year. And so I guess I spent a little longer on that pile there than I had kind of thought I did, but here we go. So moving over to the yard. So I have just scarified my yard with my reel mower. This is actually cut at about a little less than 4 millimeters. Now I normally cut it at 1/4 of an inch, which is like 6.3 millimeters. But since I want to scarify and dethatch, I'm working on cutting it lower, scalping it, so that I can really get in there and get that cut up and work on some regrowth on it, because I really want to get this Kentucky bluegrass looking great this year. So I have some video I'm going to show in a little bit of mowing this, because my mower had a hard time cutting through the thickness of this grass here. I thought it was going to look a little worse than it does. It actually doesn't look that bad at all. I thought it was going to look, have a really scalp look to it. Okay, here you see I have these squares cut out in my grass. I cut this yesterday, and I wanted to get it pulled out, but with the birthday party and everything like that, my car was in the shop getting repaired, so I had to get that picked up, drop it off, all that good stuff. I only got it cut into squares, and this, I'm basically, all I'm doing is see my retaining wall here? I want my dirt level and grass to be level with that retaining wall. That was my whole purpose building it. You see in the back there, let me see, let me just fix something here. On the side over here where I've just reseeded, it's level with my putting green. So now I'm working on getting the Kentucky bluegrass here. I'm trying to get this all leveled out so it's level too, because what happens here is it kind of slopes up and then kind of comes back down on the top there. And I want it to just kind of slope gradually all the way up and have this all kind of be level here. So I've cut all that sod. I'm going to go ahead and pull that today, and I'm going to put it on a tarp. I'm going to fill it in with the dirt that I have left over and get that more level. This is my reseeding I did last weekend, the Kentucky bluegrass. You can see there, oh my God, there's so much germination going on. No, there's none. It's only been 7 days. Yeah, it's been 7 days. I think this is probably going to germinate a lot quicker than my backyard, because my backyard gets very little sun. My front yard gets lots of sun. It gets sun from sunrise till about 3 in the afternoon. This area kind of gets shaded out about that time, but for the most part, it will get some good sun. Now, here's the problem I'm running into, and why we're going to talk about weed killers and what to do and stuff like that. I got a really bad overgrowth problem of weeds in my beds. And you're probably going to see my neighbor in the later part of one of the videos. He really is into pulling weeds and keeping his yard up and stuff like that. And I'm sure he's not really happy with me because, you know, we share a same flower bed, and I have not been keeping up with my weeding at all. And you'll see what I'm talking about here as we move forward. This is just kind of a look right here at my retaining wall finished. It's only 12 inches. And in actuality, this is really only 6 inches right here, because these are 4-inch blocks. It goes 12 inches down to the base that I built. And I built the base so that it would, you know, create that level, because there is an upslope there. I wanted the dirt to be level with the top of the retaining wall, but I also wanted it to be level with my putting green right here. And like I said, Kentucky bluegrass here, bent grass putting green up here. So it's going to be 2 different types of grass, kind of what I wanted. Kind of funny story about that. I was just talking to the neighbor. I don't really know him. Actually, he's the boyfriend of one of the girls that lives across the street. And I say girls, you know, they're in their 30s or whatever. You know, I've seen him a few times over here. He comes over on the weekends and stuff like that. And he had kind of parked kind of where I was doing the work on the sand, the soil. And it was kind of funny because, you know, he finally came out of his car and he was like, you know, I said to him, you know, like I always do to everybody, I was like, oh man, I've been waiting for you to get out of your car or come over here and start helping, you know, man, because, you know, look at all this work I got going on. I said, I really appreciate you, you know, coming out to help. And he laughed at me and stuff like that. He's like, you know, I've been meaning to ask you, you know, I've seen you, all the work you do on your yard and stuff like that. And, you know, we kind of actually felt really bad for you last year when you had done some reseeding and had grown it all in. You know, we felt bad because your seeds, your grass was like 2 different colors, and we thought that you had, you know, put the wrong seed down or something like that. We didn't quite understand why, what happened if, you know, you made a mistake and you put the wrong seed down or whatever. But we felt really bad for you because we thought you had messed up and put, you know, the wrong seed down or something. And I told him no. And at this point, you know, we were up on my grass and he was looking at it and stuff, and he was like, oh, I understand, I get it now. It's a, you know, and he understood actually when I put the flag in earlier this year, that it was a putting green. But, you know, before I didn't have a flag in it and stuff like that. So he didn't really know that it was a putting green until I put the hole in it. So he had just kind of told me how they were kind of curious, and they really felt bad for me, you know, last year when I had done that reno and put that new Kentucky bluegrass in right there. and how it didn't match. It was so much darker than the actual putting green. And you know, so he finally got it and stuff like that. But I thought that was kind of funny, but he had never seen, you know, really seen my grass up close, and he really liked it. And we were talking about it and all that stuff, and, you know, the differences in the grass and things like that. So, you know, I got to meet him, get to know him. I've already met his girlfriend. You know, she lives over there. Her mom lives over there, and they're really nice people. But yeah, so this is the putting green. Look at that. That's 2 days of growth right there. You know, I normally cut it at 2 millimeters, and I didn't get a chance to mow it yesterday. I wanted to, but you know, at 6 o'clock, I threw in the towel and I said, you know, hey, I'm done here. I'm not going to continue on with this project. I'm just going to work on it tomorrow. And I'm kind of to the point to where if I get it done, I get it done. If I don't, I don't. But I do need to mow this if I'm going to scarify it. I need to get it back down, because this is definitely, like I said, last time I mowed it was Thursday. This is Saturday, yesterday. So getting back to my beds, yeah, this is going to be kind of embarrassing for me here, because my flower beds never look this bad. We're kind of in the transition time too. I've pulled out a bunch of bulbs and things like that were in that bed over there where I planted the grass seed, the Kentucky bluegrass. But see, look, I have all this bent grass that's growing in over here. I have a whole bunch of weeds growing in over here in this flower bed. But one thing I do have is well, I mean, this is just a week's worth of growth right there. That whole edge for the putting green was actually edged and cut, and, you know, really nice clean edge. And you see it's really not clean at all anymore. And that's just a week's worth of growth. Here's some more stray bluegrass growing, or bent grass growing over here. I got my rose bushes right here that are growing really, really crazy right now. I trimmed them back pretty good last year, and they came back like crazy. And they got a bunch of buds on them getting ready to bloom. I got my stock flowers back over here, very, very fragrant. So if you walk up to my front door, it smells really good. So now, yeah, we're going to get back over here into the issues I have in my flower beds. So lots of weeds, not just grass. But yeah, normally I use the glyphosate on all this stuff, and I keep these beds pretty clean. I have my weed puller, and I pull the weeds and stuff like that. But this is out of control right now. All this right here is all weed area. This is normally nice and clean, cut line, you know, from the grass to the bed there. It's my chimney right there. I try to keep a nice clean dirt patch between the grass and the chimney, just kind of a buffer. And then I just look at it. I mean, look at these weeds. They are just out of control right now. So many weeds. So those are my weeds. They are pretty out of control, like I said. I'm gonna change over to this view right here. So down here on my garage floor, yeah, I'm in my garage. You know, this is my garage. These are some of the products that I use down here. And, you know, mostly weed killer. I don't even use these. I'm going to talk about them, but I don't even use these because these are a waste of money. The biggest waste of money, the worst advice I ever got from YouTube channels of adding these different products. And one of them is brand new still and not even open, and I bought it over a year ago. So this was my glyphosate. I talked about glyphosate. It is a non-selective herbicide. It's going to kill everything. Anything you spray this on, it's going to kill. I've even gotten it to kill the blackberry bushes that grow wild out here. This right here should be more over here because it's a fertilizer. I'm going to put it in front of those because Those I don't even like. I only have this. I talked about it before. It's whole organics. It's basically 2100. It's nitrogen, but it's got like molasses. It's got urea, and it just says other water soluble nitrogen. It's derived from triazone, methylene urea, and urea. It has high fructose corn syrup as a micro food, molasses, brewer's yeast, and yucca extract as a wetting agent. So I use that when I'm spraying my lawn with iron or just whatever. I kind of weaning off of it. I don't really care for it. I only got it because it cost me $20. And it's, it's an okay product. It's nitrogen. And that's all I really use is nitrogen. Right here I have some ProGrass because when I had POA really bad a couple years ago, I thought the ethyl fumicate was going to kill it. I realized I didn't really need to buy ProGrass. This is like $500 for 2.5 gallons. You see, I've barely even used it. But this is a selective herbicide. It's supposed to help with POA annua, and it will kill other weeds. It's basically ethyl fumicate. It's got some other things in it too, I believe. Ethyl fumicate and dimethyl benzo, whatever. So this is another weed killer. I don't really use it. I have my Tenacity right here. Tenacity is, like I said, it's good for when you're seeding. I actually use it all the time because I use it to kill the bent grass in my Kentucky bluegrass. And it's a pre and post emergent. It works really good. I haven't put it down in quite a few months. I don't have actually any kind of pre-emergent on my lawn right now. But this is Tenacity. You don't use very much of it. I think you use like two teaspoons. What is it? A teaspoon per 2 gallons, I think it is. This is my favorite weed killer right here, or one of them, Speed Zone. When I had a weed problem in my backyard or in my front yard, I had this weed growing, and it was. Let me bring this up here so you get to take a look at it. Oh shoot! Let me try to get out of the way. So I had a clover type leaf, clover weed in my front yard that I couldn't kill. None of the crabgrass killers, my normal favorite lawn weed killers was working on it. And I go to Ewing, buy some stuff from them. That's actually where I got the whole organics. And I was talking to the guy about the weed. And he's like, "Oh, just bring me a sample. And we can have our, weed guy. We can have him take a look at it, and we can have him identify it and give you, tell you what will kill it." And it was Speed Zone. It was. He told me what kind of weed it was. I forgot. This was like 7 years ago. And I've been using Speed Zone ever since. That's a great weed killer for your grass. It has all the main types of. It's got 2,4-D in it. It's got Mecoprop P, dicamba, and carfentriazone ethyl. So it actually is a good weed killer. I thought I had a different bottle here. Oh, here it is. So this is actually my most favorite weed killer. Right here. This is bio-advanced. This is what I like to use in my lawn for the most part. It's lawn weed and crabgrass killer. It's pretty similar to the Speed Zone, but what this does have is it has quinclorac and dicamba, which the Speed Zone doesn't, and I believe those are going to help you on your crabgrass. So this is my go-to when I have crabgrass and I don't have Speed Zone. I will use this because I can get this at Home Depot. Speed Zone is a little bit more something you have to buy in a landscape store, online, something like that. I also have this sulfentrazone. This is another pre-post-emergent type thing like tenacity, but you can't, you don't use it for seeding. But it is a pre-emergent for POA. And this is something that's not going to come in and kill POA. But what it's going to do is it's going to work as a pre-emergent to prevent POA from coming up before when it starts trying to root. It's going to kind of nip it in the bud there. This is my second favorite weed killer, Spectracide, and I think you'll see here there's not a Scott's product at all that I use. I don't use any Scott's products. This is basically the same as the Bio Advanced, but this has one additional ingredient, which is sulfentrazone, what I just showed you. So the sulfentrazone just puts a larger amount of weeds on there, plus that pre-emergent I was talking about action that it will do on the POA annua. Some of the other products I have, this is propiconazole for fungus. I don't really have a fungus problem. I don't really even use that. I have done an application with it, but I have this. I don't use this. I don't even know if you can see how dusty and dirty it is, but this is a hose attached spray bottle of some weed and feed. I think actually a neighbor gave this to me like 8 years ago when they moved, and they gave me a whole bunch of lawn care products. I'm showing you this here because, if you don't have a pump sprayer and you don't want to get one and you don't want to deal with that, but you want to kill weeds, this is a great thing. These are great products to use. It's got the hose attachment. It automatically mixes it. You just basically hook your hose onto it. You turn it on right here with the dial. Man, I can't get this to work. And use it to spray your lawn. This is just an easy way. You can get most all these products in this kind of form, because most all these products, they come in granular, liquid, and hose attachment. And if you want to spray your lawn with that, you don't want to buy the pump sprayer, that works great. You can get those to fertilize. You can get those for weeds. You can get those in all different types of products at Home Depot, Lowe's, all those sorts of places to get weeds and all that kind of stuff taken care of in your lawn. So I've talked about simple lawn solutions. I'm going to go ahead and go back to that. I was trying to figure out a way to get some documents or some text to pop up on here. I started trying to work on it a little bit late last night. I never really got it figured out. What I had done is I had asked Gemini. Gemini is the AI I use. I told you when I'm driving my truck, I ask it a bunch of stupid questions. So I asked it the stupid question of, I asked it a stupid question because I heard this on the podcast I listened to of the soil scientist guy, Travis, where I learn a lot of my stuff. And he asked it, I forgot how it was worded. What lawn care channel provides the most information? And I'm only going to say this just because, I believe this. The number one person, Yard Bra. I like that guy. I like his videos. He's a great editor. He puts together great videos. And he was one of the first guys I started watching when I started looking into YouTube and lawn care and stuff like that. And I really like that guy. And I was actually on his channel one time. Unfortunately, I didn't realize, what a mistake that was. But now I know. Anyways, he came up as the number one spreader of misinformation, bad information, how to waste your money. There was a bunch of different categories it gave out of all the different sorts of things. And yeah, I believe it. Because if you're putting phosphorus down like he tells you to, first of all, there should be a disclaimer. Any YouTuber that tells you to put down phosphorus should be telling you to check your local laws and regulations regarding phosphorus, because you probably have some regulations on it. Washington State said it before. You're not allowed to use phosphorus only under specific conditions, like when you're seeding and stuff. Like I can put it down on my seeding projects, but I don't use it. I don't have any phosphorus in my house and in my garage. I don't have it anywhere. I don't use it. I don't use potassium. And this is a funny thing about potassium, because the one thing, and this is a refereed research paper. I believe there was 15, I can't remember the number. There's a bunch of papers done on potassium, and because there's like people saying, oh, potassium's going to help you green up your lawn. Oh, potassium's going to help prevent heat stress, all those sorts of things. And I know I've talked about this a bunch of times, but the one thing that was pretty much proven through research, it disproved every reason that everybody was using it. But what it did prove is that it's probably going to give you a more likely chance of getting some sort of fungus. And the reason why I bring that up with yard brat is this guy gets the powdery mildew, which I've never even really heard of powdery mildew in lawns, but I guess it can happen. Powdery mildew is everywhere. It's mostly a plant thing, like your roses will get it, vegetables, all different sorts of things. Powdery mildew is just in the air. It's a spore. But he gets it in his lawn, and he uses potassium like crazy. And lots of these lawn guys do. And lots of these lawn guys talk about, putting down propiconazole and doing a prevention of fungicide to prevent, fungus from coming in. And potassium, its number one unuseful use is it will, if you use it and use a lot of it, it will give you a more likely chance for fungus. And when I start seeing all these YouTube guys talking about how they have fungus all the time and they're preventing, spraying to prevent it, but then they still get it, you watch their channel, you see them, a lot of their products they put down are potassium or have potassium in it. And you know what? Your lawn really doesn't need potassium. It needs it for heat stress, yes, but it only needs it for heat stress when heat stress is actually happening. Because potassium helps turf grass produce an enzyme which helps it defend against heat stress. It's not about applying it on it at the time you have it, and unless you don't have any potassium all in your soil, it just is looking to uptake potassium so it can start producing those enzymes at the time of heat stress. It doesn't do any prevention on heat stress, potassium. So that's the one thing. Also, the POA thing with yard brat. He's had POA forever, and he can't get rid of it. He says he has all these great products, and he does all these great things. I feel he doesn't use products correctly. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. People love his channel. He does do a great job editing, but the information he provides, just enjoy the video. Don't enjoy the information, because most of the information is bad. He's the guy that his proof that his methods work are, if I told you, let's say the rooster crows and the sun rises, and it happens every day. The rooster crows, the sun rises. Therefore, the rooster crowing must cause the sun to rise. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. There is no evidence based to his so-called proof that he has that his methods work. I mean, his methods are basic methods that everybody, can use for like his reseeding and all these sorts of things. His green grass, his neighbor's green grass and all that kind of stuff. I mean, his reasoning behind it are the products that he puts on his lawn and stuff like that. Lawn Care Nut, another guy. I've watched him, and he too, a lot of bad information, a lot of good information that guy has, but he has a lot of bad information, and mostly surrounding iron and phosphorus and, whatever. Ryan Knorr came up on there too as being a guy that, probably pushes a little bit more, too much information that's going to cost you money and not necessarily provide real things. DIY Lawn Coach, he put, anybody like yard brat, anybody who uses 14, 15 different products on their lawn to make it green, I wouldn't be watching them. They're putting way too much product, spending way too much money. And a lot of it comes back to they're just trying to sell you products. They're trying to get you to buy their products that they promote on their channels so that they can make money off of them, which is fine if they want to do that. If you want to buy their products and you want to follow their programs, it's fine. Nothing they tell you to do is going to hurt your lawn. And that's basically what it comes down to. It's not going to hurt your lawn, but is it really going to help your lawn? Have you ever tried to put like humic down just by itself to see a response? You're not going to. Seaweed, sea kelp, same thing. It is a great product for promoting root growth, especially when you're putting down sod and that sort of thing. But other than that, not really getting any benefit from it. I forget some of the way they talk about iron, really wrong. And I'm running a little long here because I can talk forever about grass and all that kind of stuff. So I kind of want to cut it off here. I did have a whole thing on iron. My basic thing about iron is, especially with the lawn care nut, he promotes a product that's a granular product that has iron in it. And I just want to make sure everybody understands any granular product that has iron, that iron is not providing you any greening benefit. And there's a reason why. I don't care if it's chelated. I don't care what it's chelated with, EDTA, DDPA, I have them on my list of stuff I wanted to put up. But all these chelated products, a lot of people don't even know what chelated means. Chelated, all it's doing is it's providing a protective barrier around the iron itself. And what it does is it protects the iron to make it more soluble within the soil. And the bad thing about it is once the chelated material, EDTA or DDPA, is eroded off or comes off and is no longer protecting the iron it's protecting, the iron is just going to oxidize. It's gonna vanish. It's gonna go away. And a lot of the research and those sorts of things that have been done on iron, we're talking like within an hour. If you put these products down that say they're chelated and they're granular, the benefit of iron lasts no longer than maybe an hour, and after an hour, it's completely oxidated out of the iron. So the best way to apply iron is liquid. You're not going to get that oxidation like you do with a granular product. So anybody trying to sell you a granular product with iron and telling you the iron is what's greening up your lawn, it's not the iron. There's going to be other things in that product that are greening your lawn. Sulfur, sulfate, nitrogen, those sorts of things. Manganese, those are all going to contribute to a green lawn. Add just a straight ironite to your lawn, and ironite's got sulfur, so it's also going to provide greening, but it's not the effects of the iron. It's the effects of something else in the fertilizer that's greening your lawn. I don't know why there's this big push on iron greening your lawn, because there's so many things that green your lawn, from nitrogen, sulfur, manganese, those sorts of things. Everything that's applied at the right, the right amount at the right times, and applied properly, you're going to get greening effects. Potassium not going to do it. Phosphorus not going to do it. Those have other different reasons for being in your lawn, and phosphorus is just naturally in your lawn. And talk about Milorganite. Yeah, it's organic, but still the phosphorus in it is still harmful to the environment. And remember, I'm not that guy. I'm not telling you don't use a product because of the environmental reasons and all that sort of stuff, but there are environmental backlashes to using phosphorus, and that's why it's controlled by so many states, and they don't want you using it. It's regulated. So the Milorganite, they talk about slow release, it being organic, all those sorts of things. They don't really have on their label where the iron actually comes from. It's just bio waste, or it's just treatment waste, water treatment waste. I think it comes from Wisconsin or something like that. There is no, other than you're putting, something that has been recycled out of, waste. it does have a benefit for your lawn because it does have nitrogen, but it has phosphorus, it has iron, and the actual benefit from the iron in it is pretty much null. If you get any benefit from the iron in it, it's very little. So, you know, Milorganite, all you're really doing is adding phosphorus to your lawn when you use Milorganite. I say don't, but you know, you guys listen to whatever information you want to listen to when it comes to Milorganite or phosphorus or potassium. You're totally allowed to do that. I just kind of come back to, you know, people really need to understand and know what they're applying to their lawn and why they're applying it. A lot of times you're just applying something to your lawn because somebody told you to apply it and they're making money off of you buying it. That's the biggest thing. And like I said, there's no problem with that. Salespeople are out there to sell you, you know, and if you want to buy into that and use those products and think that you're getting a benefit from it, you know, that's great. Do that. I don't do it. Nitrogen and a little bit of iron. I've actually cut back on my iron use because I talked about this last week. The sulfur in the iron that I'm using lowers the pH, and I'm trying to raise the pH in my soil. So I had a few other things to go over, but you know, for the most part, I was really long-winded about a lot of things. I did have, you know, I just had some things I wanted to get out there and talk about. I'm really just trying to help people who are new to home care, lawn care, and that sort of stuff. You know, I'm just trying to help you out with a little bit more information that goes a little deeper than what some of these YouTube channels are pushing for you. I want you to understand, you know, not to make the mistake I did. I listened to these guys and I was spending lots of money on lots of products, and I stopped doing it. My lawn is still really, really green. It grows lush. I mean, look at this, my putting green right here. I mean, that thing looks great. I'm gonna put up my scalping I did on my Kentucky bluegrass right here. Let me fast forward a little bit just to kind of show you what's going on. But, you know, look at this right here. I mean, you see these piles? First, you know, the one thing I want to show you about this, not only the piles that are created from cutting the grass that's too long. I got these lines here in my yard from mowing, but I also have this other line here, which is from my bed knife. It's the stripe that's created every time I mow. I get a stripe in my mow because my bed knife, I took in a rock, and then you know, let me fast forward just a little bit here and show you what happened over here. So I'm out here mowing and I'm doing this right here, and I'm like, oh, my reel won't turn. Yeah, that's a mole trap hanging from my reel that just got sucked in. That was in the bed there. I had totally forgot about it. A couple of years ago, I put that down because there was a mole hole right there. And I put that down in there. I actually had to go get my pry bar and pry it out of my, you know, pry it to turn the reel to get that out of my mower there. And so there's some more damage done to my bed knife. So that's great. So I definitely need a new bed knife. I do mow twice anyway, so you can see down in here my stripe. It's right in the middle of the path. I'm trying to show it to you right over here. So when I mow twice, I basically mow a little offset to where I was the previous time. See right down the center there, there's a little stripe. You can see off to the side over here, there's another stripe on the cut next to it there. Yeah, so that it's gonna have to get taken care of. So here you can see pretty much took care of the stripe on the second cut here. And like I said, I'm scalping the lawn down. This is to 4 millimeters so I can get prepared to start scarifying and dethatching it with the aeration blade on my Sunjo. And I call it the aeration blade because that's basically what it does. It digs down into the ground and loosens the ground up, along with cutting the grass. To promote some growth. So that's me scalping my Kentucky bluegrass, and I'm going to fast forward here. How did I clean the mess up? I used my Honda lawnmower. First, use it as a vacuum. And look at all this grass down here that the reel was kicking up. So I use my Honda, and other than mowing the backyard right now, the Honda is my main source of mowing, just to suck up grass from dethatching, verticutting, scarifying, aerating, whatever you want to call it. I sucked up a bag and a half worth of grass off of the Kentucky bluegrass alone right here. Had a big mess up here on my, let's see if I can, so up in this area right here on my green was kind of the same as a sidewalk. You know, the reel had kicked up a whole bunch of grass blades up into the green there. So I just use the Honda to suck up all that excess grass and grass blades. Yeah, so like I said, I had a few more things I was going to go over, but like I say, I just try to prepare a few videos to talk about stuff, and then just wherever it takes me, it takes me. And I appreciate you watching. I'm going to cut some of these this video up into some clips, do some shorts, and do some other videos and stuff like that, because I know a lot of people don't necessarily tune into the live, but I'm just doing the live just to kind of do it. It gives me something to do on Sunday morning. And if I could get some of you to subscribe or like the channel so that the content kind of gets out there to other people, that's really all I'm trying to do here. Is I'm just trying to get out some real researched, good information on how to take care of your lawn and not spend a lot of money. I mean, it's expensive enough to buy a house, but it's not as expensive to have a nice looking lawn as a lot of these lawn care guys make you think it is. You don't need to spend a lot of your money and a lot of your time on what they tell you need to do. You can do a lot less and get a lot more from it. So those are the only real reasons why I'm trying to put this information out there and kind of pound it into people and stuff like that. So liking and subscribing to my channel is going to help people see that content more. And like I say, if you want a lot of bad information and misinformation, keep watching these large YouTube guys. There's a lot of them out there. Now, there is a lot of good YouTube guys out there too, and there's a lot of us that are starting to come up and be more on this side of hey, what do you really need to do? What are the real effects of what you're putting on your lawn? Like I said, a lot of these products these guys tell you to do, they're not going to hurt your lawn, but they're also not going to help your lawn. Some of the things will hurt your lawn without you knowing, and you'll have more problems than you need. But for the most part, a lot of them aren't going to hurt your lawn. And they do provide things, but you know what? You've got millions of microbes, billions of microbes in your lawn already. Adding more products to try to increase that number is, not really necessary or needed. Microbes are something that is going to come from adding some organic material to your lawn, like compost and those sorts of things. So, just do the best you can with what you got. I say spend as little money as you need to on your lawn, and a few simple things will help you have a nice lawn for your house, especially if you're a new homeowner. And if you're somebody that's just trying to get into lawn care, there's a lot of easy ways to do it. There's a lot of hard ways to do it. The more work you put into it, of course, better product you're going to get. The less work you put into it, you'll still get a good product at the end of the day. But you probably could be a little bit better. But you can get great results from doing minimal stuff. Great results from doing minimal type of renovations. So thank you again. Like and subscribe. It will really help me a lot just to get the information out. I'm not trying to become a big YouTube star. I'm just trying to get some information out. That's really all I'm trying to do. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed some of the information I got out there. I know it was a lot.